it's definitely not a very safe place. I'm always very grateful that my parents did make the difficult decision to leave. I was 7. I had a very established life in South Africa. Person sleeping on the street, I was quite high up, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was terrified. I think I stayed in my hotel room for 2 days. I think surfing is the ultimate process of letting go of expectation. Oh, work is from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and I'm like, my brain doesn't work like that. He said, welcome home, sister, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm home. Thank you, Tracy. Like, there's nothing more exciting and like magnetic about people who are just doing it.
Hello my friends, and welcome to the One Way Ticket podcast. My name is Leanne, and in this podcast I like to talk to people about their story behind the One Way Ticket. This podcast is inspired by a quote of Steve Jobs, which says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, only looking back. So we dive into the important moments, mindset shifts and changes that led them to take the leap. And together we connect the dots of their story to inspire you to trust yours. And today I'm with Andie.
Hello.
To be honest, I'm quite jealous of you because you just came back from the Mental Wide.
I did come back from the Mental Wides. It was amazing.
For people who don't know, can you describe a little bit the Mental Wide?
The Mental Wides is like surfing Disneyland, is probably how I would liken it. It's probably 20 to 30 waves, different waves that you can surf for any condition, any wind, any swell. There is waves no matter what the day. It's quite a mission to get to, and it's pretty much the world's best waves surrounded by palm trees.
Amazing. It sounds really
yeah.
Disneyland is, I think, a very good word for that.
There was a few points where I was like, is this real?
Yeah.
Surely not. This cannot be real.
And the water is super clear?
Water is clear, like surfing with fish just actually like coming up to the surface, like colourful fish.
There's dolphins?
I saw no dolphins, but there have been sightings.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing. That's my biggest dream, like surfing surrounded by dolphins.
Yeah, it was pretty special. Yeah.
Amazing. Did you surf every day?
Surfed every day, twice a day.
Oh.
Yeah, my body by the end of it was pretty happy to leave.
Yeah. You were there for like a week?
10 days. 10 days, and we were probably surfing, like 4 to 6 hours a day, 2 sessions. But there was nothing really else to do. Yeah. So you kind of are like, okay, I guess we're going surfing again. And it was amazing.
But it always works. There's spots that always work.
If you are there to find a wave, you'll likely find a wave. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
so,
I really want to go there.
But afterwards, when I came back, I didn't surf for probably a week.
Yeah.
I was like, I need some rest.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
You were surfing for a long time now?
I've been surfing for... Oh, it's an interesting question because I started surfing when I was probably 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I turned 13, my parents got me this beautiful, like fiberglass board. It was rainbow and purple and very colourful. And shortly after that, I gave up. And yeah, I don't know why still. And then I picked it up again in my mid-20s. Yeah.
I see.
And from there, I've been very committed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the age of 10. But you told me you grew up in South Africa. Yes.
Yeah. So when people ask me where are you from, it's always okay, how much time do I have to answer this question? I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. I lived there until I was 8. I then moved with my mum, dad and sister to Australia, to a place called Leeton, which is a tiny country town in rural New South Wales. And the population, I think, of this town is about 2,000. And from there, in this town, there was no ocean nearby at all. So that was the only time in my life I have lived inland and never by the ocean. So from there, we moved to Sydney and then to the Central Coast, which is where I did most of my growing up. And that's where I did surf a little bit. But even once I gave up surfing, I was always doing body surfing, surf lifesaving, water polo, rowing, competitive swimming. So I've been in and around the water my whole entire life.
Yeah, more in the water than outside.
Absolutely, yeah. Like my dad's a big ocean swimmer. My grandparents were competitive swimmers for South Africa. And as well, a few of my uncles have also been competitive swimmers. So it's definitely in the family.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Do you remember much growing up in Johannesburg?
Yes, I do. South Africa, I have quite actually vivid memories of being there, of growing up. Very vivid memories as well of, especially probably school, starting school there. I was, it's definitely not a very safe place. I'm always very grateful that my parents did make the difficult decision to leave because that was their home, that's where their family is. And they made that decision because it wasn't a safe place for my sister and I. They didn't want us growing up there. And I have memories of, definitely good memories and, you know, playing at school, playing with my sister. We had an awesome little, huge garden, and I had, I think, like a little pond with some fish and all the rest. But I also remember going to school, there would be children knocking on the car windows begging for money. There was always security guards everywhere. Everyone had very aggressive dogs. In my preschool, there was an incident where on one particular day we were all held hostage for a couple of hours, and that was actually the day that my parents decided to immigrate to Australia. So, and we were very lucky because at that point in time, Australia was doing a skilled migrant visa and for nurses, and my mum's a nurse. So we were able to move to Australia because my mum was a nurse.
Okay. So there was a hostage. Is it hostage?
Yeah.
A hostage at your school, but you just told me that you moved when you were 8, so you were super young, like 7.
Yeah, I would think I was probably 5 or 6.
Oh.
Yeah.
What happened?
Do
you remember?
We were playing in the playground, and I remember there was like lots of sound of helicopters, and I was actually in this little tunnel part of the playground, and I remember thinking, oh, there's like helicopters out there, and then suddenly all the teachers rushed us inside, and we were lined up in a corridor, and the teachers did a really good job at keeping us really calm, and they gave us like water, but you could hear shotguns and bullets, and also a lot of helicopters and sirens outside, and then I think after a period of time we were let out. The issue outside was resolved, and we were my parents came and picked us up, and I just remember my mum picking me up and just giving me the biggest hug ever. And that night, I have such a vivid childhood memory of mine, but I went outside, my parents were talking on the outside porch, and I'm just like, hey, what's happening, I went outside, and they just, when you just know your parents are talking about something serious, and you're like, and I kind of went out there, and they just looked at me, and they were like, oh, we'll come inside soon. And I just, I've spoken to them since, and they were there talking and making that decision that, hey, as of tomorrow, we start the process to try and move to Australia.
Yeah. So, were you aware of what really happened that day in your school? Or is it just afterwards
I think I was aware once, as soon as I was picked up, and I saw how upset my mum was. Yeah.
I see. And do you remember how you felt when they told you we're going to move to Australia?
I was very upset.
Yeah.
Because I was 7. I had a very established life in South Africa. I was still losing all my friends, my job,
I can imagine
my assets.
I think that's the most that you lost your assets. Yes.
No, I was so sad. I had a friend, her name was Robin, and she was my best friend, and I was like, you're taking me away from Robin, and I remember, again, being on the aeroplane, and as we're taking off, looking out the window, like crying, and I did
really
not.
The main character.
Yeah, it was some serious main character energy. My poor parents, and I was really upset. But my parents, they drove a hard bargain, and they said, I was desperate for a dog. I was desperate for a golden Labrador called Tess, and they said, when we get to Australia, you can get a dog.
Tess.
You can get a dog, and we'll go and get Tess for you. And that got me on the plane. then we got to Leeton, this small tiny country town, and you know, I've got pictures of this golden Labradors from like Google Images like stuck on my bedroom wall, and we found a breeder for Labradors, and we went to this breeder, and you know, like a golden Labrador is pretty expensive. This breeder was selling these dogs for I think $100, and we got there and we thought there were no girls, so
No tests.
no tests. So there was the only option was to either wait until the next litter, but I was desperate for this dog, right? And so we got a golden Labrador called Rusty, and as he started growing up, we realized he was definitely not a golden Labrador. He was a $50 breed of many things, but he was the best dog in the world. But I still do say that one day when I get a dog, I'm going to call her Tess.
Yeah. Actually, you have to.
I have to. Yeah.
Did you had a hard time like fitting into the new like school? Culture. Yeah. I think you spoke English already in South Africa.
Yes. It was definitely very difficult. I think I was really sad to leave, and I think there's a bit of a joke in my family because I repeated kindergarten in South Africa. So if you read my school reports, it says that I resort to tears too easily. And so they kept me back a grade in kindergarten. And then I went to Australia and they kept me back a grade again. So there's this joke that I've done kindergarten 3 times and I'm really good at colouring in now. But I found it very hard to settle in again. I was missing home, and I was also little things like in Australia, even the letter K is written differently to in South Africa. Like Australians do a oval top K, and I remember we had this homework to actually cut pictures out of magazines for things that started with K, and my mum, dad, and I were like, what is this letter? You know, like, what is this letter of this alphabet that we have to cut out? And my poor mum had to go to the school and be like, sorry, what letter is this? You know? And they're like, it's just the letter K, like, pretty standard letter in the alphabet. And we were like, oh. But it was hard, and I think I'm quite sensitive to my environment, and I was very sensitive to the fact that my parents were also struggling to adjust and settle in, and we didn't have any family. My sister was a bit younger, and she's a very relaxed, you know, go with the flow person. But I was definitely quite sensitive. I think from the hostage situation as well, I was not a very good sleeper, so I was always quite scared. Always scared of being kidnapped, scared of someone breaking into the house. My dad used to tie a string from my toe to his at night, and so if I got scared, I just pulled the rope. But I was just quite anxious and scared growing up, especially as we were moving and in that new environment.
And do you remember what helped you to be more okay in living the life there?
I think it comes with time, and I'm so lucky that my family are very active, outdoorsy people. My parents are not ever seen standing still. So we were out and about, we were connecting with community, we were swimming in the local river, jumping off the rocks, jumping off ropes, building rope swings, going to the community country fair, and I think just very out there, living a healthy lifestyle. And slowly it did help, and we did start to really, I think, become part of the community. And we lived in Leeton for nearly 3 years, and I know that when we first got there, my parents, like my dad has since said to me, he called his dad that night we arrived and said, book the girls back into school, we're coming back to South Africa. Like, this is not going to happen. And by the end of it, we were all very sad to leave Leeton. So I think it's a matter of time. And then it's also, I was very lucky with Rusty, my dog. That was really great. And we also had a cat adopt us, Abby. She kind of more so adopted me than than the rest of the family. But she just turned up at our house and she slept on my bed pretty much every night that we lived in Leeton. So it was we got there.
Nice.
But immigration is not easy, and I'm a big believer that if someone's making that move, especially with a family, I have a huge amount of respect for my parents, but making that move is it's scary. It's like game changer.
Yeah, you literally change your whole life.
Absolutely.
You told me your parents are super active people. Is that also why you felt that you had to leave Australia at some point?
I think the active lifestyle of my parents is one thing, but then they also have this very adventurous element to them as well. So I would say the activeness, their passion for an active lifestyle has made me enjoy an active lifestyle, but their passion for adventure has been the thing that has really led me to want to adventure and see the world. And growing up, we were always camping and going on traveling, but traveling to places where things were a bit different. We would never go and stay at a resort and sit by the pool and that was our holiday. It was like we were coming back with cuts and bruises and like twigs in our hair, and I didn't even know what was happening. And then I remember we were in the far north Queensland and we had been swimming in this river all day, and then we got back to the accommodation that night and Dad was like, oh my gosh, that river had crocodiles in it. Like, we were in the middle of nowhere sometimes, like, adventuring and doing all these things. And that definitely has led me to be someone who's always so hungry to see the world and see what's out there and do things that are a little bit different.
Yeah. What do you remember the day that you were like, I want to travel?
I remember the day that I thought I wanted to travel for my first solo trip, and I just finished school. I was set on being a psychologist, and I've always been quite interested in human psychology, and probably because I've also been quite interested in trying to understand some of the nature of my thoughts and anxieties and thinking patterns. But I did a semester of anxiety, a semester of psychology, and a semester of anxiety. And then thought the statistics part of this is too difficult. Like math statistics, not for me. And so I thought, okay, let's go traveling. And as soon as I had that thought of, oh, this study hasn't worked out for me, let's go traveling, it was like this thing just turned on inside of me. And it wasn't just, let's go traveling for 2 weeks. I was like, okay, we're packing up and we're actually going. And I booked, and then so I went to India for 3 months and then Zambia for 6 weeks. And that was my first solo international trip. Yeah.
And why India and Zambia?
I actually, looking back, I don't know why I wanted to go to India. I'd always been very drawn to India, and I'd never known anyone who had gone to India either. My parents, who were very well travelled, had never been to India, and I'd often asked them, have you been to India? And they'd always said no. So I think I really was quite interested to explore it for myself, and I had no preconceptions around it. I think if my parents had been to India, they probably wouldn't have let their 19-year-old daughter go to India by herself. But thankfully they hadn't, so off I went. And then I went to Zambia because my mum was born in Zambia. Yeah, so she was born in Zambia and lived there until I think she was 2 or 3. Her parents worked there, and I was quite interested just to see the country that my mum was born in.
Yeah. And what do you think of Zambia? I've never been.
Zambia was beautiful, really, really amazing. I was, I'd been in India for 3 months and gone straight to Zambia. I actually missed my flight from India to Zambia because 19-year-old me, in Australia, flights don't leave in the middle of the night because we don't want to wake up the citizens. And so when I saw my flight was at 2, I thought...
2 p.m.
2 p.m, yeah. But I got there at 2 p.m. They said your flight was at 2 a.m. this morning. And I was like, oh, So I left India. I actually at that point as well had run out of money and so I had no money to buy a new flight. So I had to call my dad and be like, I missed my flight. So bless my dad had to transfer me some money to get my flight to Zambia via like Kenya, and it was a whole thing. But Zambia was very peaceful. The people were amazing, so friendly. I was staying in quite a rural community, and there was a school there and a hospital, so I was able to spend some time with actually teaching within the school and visiting the hospital. But the people were amazing and so friendly, and yeah, Africa is just beautiful. It's very sad that there's many countries within Africa where there's so much war and tension and conflict, because at the heart of, I think, a lot of the culture, the singing, the dancing, the joy, the smiles, it's so like joyful, which you wouldn't expect when you see a lot of the conflict and like heaviness around what's on the news.
So you kind of had a plan, 3 months India and then a few weeks Zambia.
Yes.
Why did you want to see anything in particular in India?
I think I wanted to go and explore and work within some of the communities. I've always been very passionate about community work, but like with all things, I think travel plans don't often go to plan, and those things happened in all different orders, and I met some amazing people and stayed in the school area in Rajasthan much longer than I expected. And it was my first time traveling solo, and it was pretty amazing and pretty confronting as well, like landing in Delhi and having to figure out how to get a tuk-tuk and all the rest. And I woke up, and I remember my first morning in India, I woke up and I looked out the window and there was like just rubbish everywhere. There was a naked person sleeping on the street. I was quite high up, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was terrified. I think I stayed in my hotel room for 2 days.
You said that you studied psychology because you like the psyche in general, and your own thought patterns and anxieties. What kind of anxieties or thought patterns you had to break through to be able to travel, or was there any?
I think traveling definitely does come with high levels of anxiety at points. I've always found my way of thinking quite interesting, in the sense that I'm someone who, and I'm working on it, but I handle high stress situations very well. So I actually handle travel situations quite well. If they're, a missed international flight, I can deal with it. Problem solving, what's the plan today? I don't know what this person is saying, like language, sickness, all the rest, these things I can handle. It's those small little moments in day-to-day life that actually probably cause me more anxiety than anything, which is ironic. But I think the biggest thing from a mindset perspective with travel, it's really around having a flexible mind and being able to understand and be comfortable with going with the flow and letting go of control. I see some people who have a full Excel spreadsheet for their 3-month trip, and the thought of that stresses me out so much, because some of my best travel experiences have actually been when I've had no plans, or you've just met one person and they've said, oh, I'm going this way, or I'm staying here for a few extra days, you should join, and you just go with whatever it is that's in front of you. So I think it's actually more of rather than having to learn new skills to travel, it's actually an unlearning and a letting go of control that brings the most joyful travel experiences, for me anyway.
Which experience brought you the most skill of letting go of control or anything?
I think probably surf culture.
Yeah?
Surf trips, surf culture, having to just completely surrender to the fact that you don't know the conditions can change, how many people will be there, we don't know, you might get injured. I think surfing is the ultimate process of letting go of expectation when it comes to travel. And when you combine that with surf trips as well, you have to be so open to the tide, the swell, the place, the conditions, the equipment around you. So I would say surfing has probably been a very big teacher for me when it comes to letting go of control.
And you told me mid-20s you start picking up surfing again. Was there a reason why?
Yeah, well, when I was in Zambia, so I met a Kiwi guy and ended up moving to New Zealand for this guy. And so I was living in New Zealand for a couple of years. And then in my mid-20s, our relationship ended, but we had a house together, and I also had a job there that I had to, stay for a couple of months to close off the role, also then sort out the house. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be here for probably the next 4 to 6 months. This relationship is ending. I'm going to just try and make the most of my time here and do something that's good for me and my mental health. And in my mind, I just always knew I wanted to be a surfer. I was like, I'm a surfer. There's 3 things that I know that I want to. I want to be able to speak another language, play the guitar, and surf. So I was like, I need to start surfing now. Now is the time. So I bought a foam board on Facebook Marketplace, and the beach was probably 40 minutes away from my house. And every afternoon I would drive to the beach and try to surf. And that's what got me through those 6 months. And then when I moved back to Australia, I moved into a share house. I didn't even realize it, but I moved into a share house with 6 surfers. And I thought, I'm only going to be here for the night times because I'm going to be in the city working every day. And then COVID happened. And so the 6 of us were surfing every day all throughout COVID, which was amazing. And they were very good surfers, and I learned a lot.
Nice. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so surfing does have a special place in my heart because it did get me through quite a hard time. Yeah.
You moved back to Sydney then?
Yes, to Manly.
And you had a new job, but COVID, but you still were employed, or?
Yeah, I was very lucky. When I moved back to Sydney, I moved back to Sydney. I moved back with my parents for 2 months on the Central Coast, and then I found that share house in Manly, which was hilarious. Like, it was this awesome house, but 6 people, 1 bathroom. It was this like colonial house. It actually had one room where the floor was actually tilted, like not flat. So like if you put a skateboard on it, it would just actually like roll down. But we had the best time, and I got a job in the city, so I would catch the ferry to work. But within a few months, COVID happened, and it all became working from home, which I actually loved. And I was very lucky that the company that I was with was at a really high growth phase and quite technology based. So they really flourished during COVID, and the business kept growing and my role kept growing. And I have that job to thank for a lot of my career progression, in the business psychology space.
Yeah. And at some point you were tired of Sydney because you're here now. What happened?
Actually, I loved Sydney. After a long time of moving around, I finally felt like, wow, I'm here in Manly and I love it and I have a great community. And then I got an invite to go for a surf trip to Bali, and I said, yeah, sure, let's go, as I usually, I'm a very yes person. And then I got to Bali and thought, whoa, actually this is great. And I'd never been to Indonesia before. A lot of Australians obviously love Bali and love Indonesia, but I'd always thought, Bali, it sounds like people go there to surf, party, and be by the water. I can do that in Australia. If I'm going to travel, I'd rather go, other places. But I finally got myself to Indonesia and absolutely fell in love with it. Like, from the minute I got to the airport, just the hustle and bustle of it, I was just like, okay, wow, I feel very at home here. And so I did a couple of trips to Bali, which I really enjoyed. I do like Bali. I know sometimes people are like, oh, Bali's too hectic. I personally think it's great. And so after a few trips to Bali, I then found myself in Lombok, and that's when I really, really did feel at home. And it's such a cliche, but even the guy who picked me up from the airport, his name is Tracy, and I didn't know him, but he said, "Welcome home, sister." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm home." Thank you, Tracy. It's great to be here, brother. Like, and from there, I was here for 2 weeks for a surf camp, and I remember my first surf in Lombok was at Garapuk outside, and it was just the most perfect day. And I was looking up at the rock, and I was looking out, and I thought, wow, like, this is cool, and this is really, really cool. And then I had to leave. My flight back, that 2-week trip came to an end, and I was back here a month later, making it work. And I haven't really looked back. It's been the best decision of my life.
So you felt at home immediately, mostly because of Tracy, but what else made you feel so at home in Lombok?
The community and the sense of entrepreneurial spirit was definitely something that was a draw card for me. I've always been someone who, I have a new idea every day, every hour probably, if you were to really like tally them up. And I just suddenly found myself within this community of people who were sitting behind computers in cafes on Saturdays. And I was like, hey, I like to do this too. And they were actually, in Australia, if I would do that, people would be like, why are you working? It's the weekend. You know, like, get off your laptop. And I'm like, oh, I've got this idea. I just kind of want to explore it. And like, no, work is from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I'm like, my brain doesn't work like that. And yeah, suddenly I was in this surfy community of like very cool people who were all thinking and dreaming and doing and having crazy ideas and doing it. And I thought, okay, wow, this is really cool. Like, not only is the surf great, not only is the weather great, not only is the food great, but also there are some very smart and intelligent young people here who are doing really cool things, and they're not waiting for the perfect time and the perfect opportunity or for them to have the perfect credentials. They're just doing it. And I love that. Like, there's nothing more exciting and like magnetic about people who are just doing it. And so that suited perfectly, because then of course I had an idea and I was like, well, I guess I do it. And my idea, or rather my observation, was around the fact that I hadn't seen many women surfing, and I then did local women, many local women surfing. And so I asked one of my local friends who I'd got to know, his name is Chip. I said, hey, did you learn how to swim growing up? And he said, no, but I paddled around in my uncle's buffalo pond. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess I started a swim school called Buffalo Pond, and that it just happened. And I started talking about the idea of a swim school and if people thought it would be helpful. And a lot of the community were absolutely, we would love to learn how to swim. There's no one here teaching swimming. There's no one here teaching water safety. And I thought, okay, well, we could start a community program. I was a swimming teacher in high school and university as my part-time job, and obviously I'd grown up around the water as well. And the idea started really catching on, especially with the expat community, who then also thought, well, we would love swimming lessons for our children. And whilst the idea started with giving free lessons to locals, it then very quickly became apparent that the whole idea could be set up as a social enterprise where we could charge lessons to expats and actually make it a commercial business, and then the profits and proceeds can go towards the scholarship and free lessons for locals. And so I'm a big believer that the most impactful community programs do need good consultation. So I did try and consult a lot with the community and understand needs and how would this work. And then I was very lucky there was a couple, Ryan and Dina from Australia, who were in town, and they had experience with swim schools. And so we came together and we got it all set up and started. And yeah, I think we've been running for 2.5 years now.
Yeah, amazing.
It's been such a journey. And it's also been such a experience that has pushed me to have no excuses, because there has been many times where I've thought, why am I doing this? Like, this is really scary. This is really difficult. I'm setting up a business in a foreign country. I'm making a big commitment to the community, but the community's actually backed me so much, and it's just attracted such amazing people as well to help and support with all parts of the business, whether it's from branding to the website to teaching swimming to helping with advising on how to set up a business in Indonesia, of connections with, I know a person who has a pool, I know a person who does this. Like, it's been such a team effort.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's the best part about this community as well.
Yeah. So you have free swimming classes for the community here. But there's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
There's many children. The way that we manage it is we run programs that are in blocks. So we, depending on the, who we're doing a program with, whether it's a school or an organisation, we usually do 10-week blocks. And so they do swimming lessons once a week for 10 weeks, and then we change the class. So then, grade 4's done their 10-week program now. Now it's grade 5. Now it's grade 6. Now we move to this. So we do try and block them up so that we do have a start and an end to the water safety program, and then we can offer it again to another, to someone else.
Yeah. And you told me I understood it was started because there was not many women surfing, right? Is it one goal for you also to make the girls more confident to also jump in the water with a surfboard?
I think that's definitely the goal. Whilst that was the catalyst to the observation, to actually starting this, it then has really now focused more so on probably children and adults. But there are businesses that we've partnered with, Ocean Folks, and they do a lot of work with women, and their goal is definitely to eventually have women surfing.
Yeah.
And so it's been really nice to be able to partner with businesses like that and share knowledge and skills to support them in the teaching of swimming. And then they're really doing some amazing stuff with empowering women to pick up a surfboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see more girls surfing. There's it's so cute to see all these. It's mostly, I haven't seen any girls surfing, but there's these small little boys in the line.
Yeah, little grommets. Yeah, they're so cute.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right?
Making cutbacks, I have to.
Yeah.
Practice,
It's a bit confronting sometimes. I'm like, okay, don't be so good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We have quite a big story, and I want to connect the dots with you. I think. Of course, one of the dots is that your parents decide to move to Australia because it gives you a whole new perspective of life.
Yeah.
What would be the second? Maybe not one dot, but more the fact that your parents are super active, that makes you wonder or want to have an adventure.
Yeah.
The trip to in India and Zambia was a big one, and then of course maybe the breakup in New Zealand that made you surfing again, moving back to Australia, and then the surf trip to Lombok. No, to Bali, which also made you more interested in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people that are still really want to control their life?
Yeah.
Or how you can maybe be more aware of your patterns?
Yeah. With travel specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that helps me to really just go and do things is that it's not that I'm scared things won't go wrong. It's that I know that I'll be able to figure it out. And so I think rather than trying to learn to let go of control, it's actually to learn that you do have the skills and the resources to problem solve anything that might go wrong. And, I've really seen that when people sometimes are you doing that, or you're going there, or you're starting that, but what if this happens, or what if it doesn't work, or what if no one turns up, or what if you put something out there and the idea doesn't land? And I'm like, well, we just face it. And I think it's really starting to realize that no one is watching you with a microscope all the time and judging you and judging if things work or don't work. And that's been one of the biggest, I think, lessons that my life has taught me, is the world is so big. Like, the world is so big. There are so many people out there. There are so many experiences. And the more you see, in a weird and beautiful way, the more you realize you don't actually matter that much. And the more, and that's really nice and quite liberating, because you start to see that a trip or a fall or a mistake, it's not pleasant in the moment, for sure. It's awful. It's not nice. But it's also, you'll be okay. Like, the sun will still rise tomorrow morning, and you will still be able to get up and keep doing what you're doing. And people might talk about things for a little while, but they'll forget about it in a second. They might talk about it for 30 seconds, and then they'll be thinking about themselves again. And not in a bad way, but it's just, I think learning to actually just believe that you can problem solve is the most powerful thing you can do. And I've definitely got a little bit of a why not mentality. Like, why not go for that wave? Why not try that idea? Why not ask that question? Why not say you love that person? Why not this? Why not that? Why not put yourself out there? Because I think you're much more likely to live wondering, what if I'd done that, rather than I wish I hadn't done that. And that's, I think, something that's very, very powerful. And I do know as well, though, from my story, that I have learned that skill and I've learned that self-belief because I've had to go through some hard things, and I've had to really be in some like very dark places and go, oh my gosh, like, how on earth am I going to show up today and present a workshop? Or how am I going to show up today and have to run a swimming lesson? Or show up today and tell everyone about a business idea when I've got like nothing to give? But when you do it enough, you just start to realize you can do it. It's like this muscle that you don't want to use it, but you know it's there. And so you just you paddle back out, like, for the wave, you paddle back out for the idea, the person, the relationship, the business, whatever it might be. And you just can do it. And you just have to like wildly believe in that and know that times will pass. And like, I've many fundraising events, especially in the early days. I held a fundraising event in Australia for Buffalo Pond when it was just starting. And I got there and I was like, oh, this is going to go for the next 3 hours. And like, I kind of saw one person, and I just went and sat in the bathroom, and I was like, this is 3 hours of your life. Like, this time tomorrow it will be over. Like, just do it, and you don't have a choice, actually. It's happening. So go out there. And I think I've done that so many times that you just learn that things pass, and it might not be comfortable at the time, but there's one thing about time, and the certainty is that it passes and things move on and things happen, and you just have to just do it rather than not do it and look back and think, I wonder if.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it's like a muscle, because I also feel like that. The more things I do, and the more I see, oh, it actually works out.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next time I'm doing something that might be a little bit scary, I'm like, but last time it went well, so this time it will be okay too.
Exactly, yeah. And it might actually take you down a path that you didn't expect, and it might take you down a path that you actually don't even want to go down. But it's somehow finding that trust and that just like acceptance of this is happening, and so like, I'm on this journey. Let's see where it goes. Yeah. How can I make the most out of this?
Interesting. And also the patterns in your head. Do you have advice to be more aware of them? Like, I can see this is again the way I used to do it, but it doesn't serve me anymore. So
yeah, definitely the pattern in my head that I've seen probably play out over time is there is too much of a good thing. I think I am so excitable and adventurous and everything seems like a good idea and a great opportunity. And that level of excitement, I've had to, it's kind of like I trained myself to get to that point of being so high functioning and able to do all of those things. And I've had to now, and I'm learning to train myself to actually pull back a bit and go, you can enjoy, like, you can do everything, but you don't need to do everything at once. And, you know, living in quite a nomadic community, it's very hard to accept that, because there's something, you could be doing something different every single day. You could start a new hobby every single day. You could have coffee with 10 people a day and learn 10 different stories from them. But it's like pace is probably the thing I would say is so important, because especially looking back at my 20s, I did so much, and I'm so grateful I did. But I also think I probably didn't look after my nervous system very well with how much sleep I was having. And I was like on flights all the time, and I was going here and there and there and there. And I probably could have collected just as many amazing experiences, but in a more sustainable way.
More present.
Yeah, more present. Exactly. Yeah. Because it can get a little bit addictive. So I would say that the pattern to watch is actually probably like a dopamine addiction, when it does come down to being a passionate person, because it's very easy to hide some quite dangerous patterns behind adventure and excitement and out there and I'm here and I'm there. But it's actually like, that's great, you can do all of that, but just like, dude, tiny bit less, you know, in a way where you're still getting 8 hours of sleep a night. That's okay too.
I recognize that so bad, because there's so many fun things to do here in Lombok.
So many.
And like, I want to do this and this and this, and then at some point I was complaining about a friend, to a friend, that I was tired. After we just catched up, telling her all the stuff I've done, and then she's like, no wonder it's not weird that you're tired.
I'm tired listening to this story.
So many stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I need to sleep more.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to rest more.
Yeah, it's really important. I'm only really realizing this as of this year, I think. But I think a lot of my patterns have actually of excitement, of definitely just high functioning anxiety. And it's a matter of you can still do all of these things, but pace yourself, I think. Yeah. Because there will always be something to do, like always. You can't live in that scarcity mindset of like, now is the only chance I'm ever going to be able to go to the sauna ice bath. I have to go now, even though I'm exhausted. It's like, it's going to be there tomorrow. Yeah. You know, like there will be waves tomorrow. And actually on the men's trip, there was a woman who was who I was surfing with, and she had this great kind of philosophy or one-liner, and she would say, you don't have to catch every wave. And I was like, you're right. I was like, you're right. Like you don't. There will be there's waves going right now that while we're talking. There's waves happening today when I was working. Like, you don't have to catch every wave, right? And I was like, it's so true.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I still want to catch
I still want to catch every wave and really upset the lineup.
No, she's really right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So fun.
Story. Yeah. And thank you for watching. I hope you liked this episode, and like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you.